what is the best way to pivot in the multifamily? And the best way we decided was, hey, Ronnie stays at P&G, continues to work. Jenny's gonna go off and basically intern for Stephen Louie, work with him on learning the ropes on multifamily, and really create this foundation of how do we shift into multifamily. She's gonna do that.
Welcome to the Threefold Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is the podcast where you'll not only learn how you can achieve massive success in multifamily real estate investing, but also how you can simultaneously pursue great relationships with your family and a better walk with God. You can achieve financial freedom through real estate investing without sacrificing the relationships that mean the most to you. Now, here's your host, Lee Yoder.
Welcome back, Threefold listeners. I hope you're having a great week. We've got another great guest today. A buddy of mine, Ronnie Gou, is joining us today. Ronnie did used to live in Cincinnati, so that's kind of where our connection starts. We'll get into that more later. But and that's a little bit of his background. So he is now a managing partner at Vertical Street Ventures, joining the co-founders, his wife, Jenny Gou, and Stephen Louie. After their successful launch of the company, Ronnie focuses on marketing and opportunities that VSV creates for passive investors and leads investor relations with a focus on capital raising. He brings 15 years of marketing strategy and operations background from P&G, which is when he was back here in Cincinnati. He brings this to his team. He previously served as the National Sales Senior Director. He's been responsible for running sales and operations for Charmin, Bounty, Puff, some large brands. Worked with people like Walmart, Target, Amazon. Great background. Ronnie, you must have had a great job, a great career. Why the heck did you walk away? First of all, welcome. Thanks for joining me today, man. Great to talk to you again.
Good to be here, man. And after all this, time, talking and whatnot, we've had a lot of history together, but it's good to be on your podcast.
Yeah. Glad to finally have you. I can't believe I'm just now having you. We're going to jump into some other stuff, but Ronnie, just read like this great background. It sounds like you had an awesome career. I'm sure, assuming you were doing very well with P&G. A lot of people know of that. Most people know of that company. You were doing well. There had to be a great track for you to continue growing within that company, and you walked away from it all. Can you take us back there? What was going on? And then, I didn't read in your bio, but your wife did the exact same thing. So she made, the crazy move before you did. What were you guys thinking? What was going on? Just kind of explain that a little bit to us.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great question. We're asked that a lot because you're right. P&G is a wonderful company. Treated us very well. I actually worked for P&G at a high school. I was an intern at age 17 at P&G. I did 4 summer internships there, and my career there for a long time, right? Wow. And so, honestly, P&G was like family to me for a very long time, and I still today hold it in such high regard as a company. And so, we had a long, successful careers at P&G. Really, really happy. The biggest challenge with a corporate career in the CPG world, the consumer products world, is location. And so this is an industry that's very focused in the Midwest. The retailers at times are in the Midwest, Walmart's in Arkansas, Minneapolis for Target, things like that. None of it was close enough to the state of California where I'm from. And so if you go back to the values, and everyone goes back to their why and what are they looking for, we wanted to get back to Southern California, and actually P&G enabled that. We were in location-free director roles, doing very well, but we just saw the ceiling associated with what's a location-free job in Southern California look like, what's that career look like, and just wasn't going to be what we wanted for ourselves.
And Jenny made that move first, maybe a little bit behind the idea there, and kind of how long was she there? With your guys' partner Stephen Louie. What was the thought process behind that? Like, hey, if you go, let's try this out, and I'll keep my job, and if it works, then maybe I can join you. What was your guys' plan there?
Whatever couples should have in regards to how do you think about designing your lives, right? And so how do you think about financially your household? How do you think about the work, and how do you make sure it's balanced within a couple, right? And so we looked at ourselves and said, hey, what is the best way to pivot in the multifamily? And the best way we decided was, hey, Ronnie stays at P&G, continues to work. Jenny's going to go off and basically intern for Stephen Louie, work with him on learning the ropes on multifamily, and really create this foundation of how do we shift into multifamily. She's going to do that, right? And so Jenny is a wonderful learner, had the great skill set that partnered really well with Steve, created a nice foundation for it. And I'll be honest, actually, I think there was a possibility I was going to stay at P&G. I was going to say, hey, I actually really enjoyed my work. Some people are like, hey, I dread my W-2 job. I didn't. I loved the work that I did. The reason why I left was very simply, Vertical Street was growing too fast. Like, it was growing very fast. We needed no arms and legs. And, just the two of them was just, there's so much work to go around. I said, okay, well, it's time for me to shift. And we shifted when we recognized our passive income covered our expenses.
Awesome. Yeah.
When that happened and we calculated that, okay, now we have the ability to say, hey, I'm going to leave behind a corporate career and go pursue this full time.
Because you guys were investing in the apartment buildings along the way.
That's exactly right. So we started with passive investments. I think that's every foundation for a lot of great operators, right? Just, hey, let's create this passive income. Let's, understand what it all looks like, right? So we made investments along the way. And those came to fruition and delivered on the returns we were looking for. And that enabled us to create this passive income base.
Yeah, that's great. And you guys have a path that others can follow, Ronnie. It's important because it's easy for people to look at where you and Jenny are at and say, that's what I want. And, even for my wife, that's where we want to be. So we want to do what you guys did. And so we're both going to quit and we're going to jump in, but that's not what you guys did at all. Right. I mean, first of all, you were excelling where you're at. I mean, a lot of people would say, hey, if you want to go do something different, if you want to go start, well, first excel at what you're doing, do really well. So you guys are doing that. And then you build up a nice financial base, which allows you to start investing passively, again, to build up this other stream of income. So you're less dependent on your W-2s. So you guys are doing that. And then Jenny leaves and you guys are in a spot where Jenny can really go. And it sounds like kind of jump in with Stephen without, hey, Stephen, I need to come on and make 250, whatever it is. Like, you got to replace my income. No, she's jumping in, starting from the bottom. Hey, I'm just going to work and I'm going to, earn my keep here and help. But you guys put yourselves in a position to do that, and you were willing to do that, and you took that risk, and it worked out very well. So now you're seeing like, man, there's this opportunity cost. If I stay where I'm at, that, we might be missing out on what Vertical Street Ventures could be. And, I think it sounds like there was a longing to go do that as well. And I mean, you guys have just taken off. So yeah, I love, there were multiple steps, so if people want to be where you guys are, you don't, probably just get a jump right into it. It's not going to be there like that. There's going to be multiple steps, and it might be, a couple years of just doing really well at your job and saving up and beginning to slowly passively invest in other people's deals, learning, building up some passive cash flow. Then maybe one of you leaves and starts working in, but they're not making very much because a lot of times when you jump in as a general partner, you're giving most of the cash flow to the passive investors, right? Absolutely. You've got to kind of build it up, but they start building up. Yeah. So love that story, Ronnie, because other people can do what you guys did, but it's not as simple as just, well, we're going to leave our jobs and go do apartments. There were a lot of steps and a lot of years and a lot of work to get you guys where you're at. But that's awesome. So Ronnie, if you maybe just bring us up to speed, what are you guys doing today? What do you guys own? What's your job look like? Maybe even a little bit about Jenny's. Like, what's Vertical Street Ventures look like today for you guys?
Absolutely. So I left my corporate job in October of 2021. The last 10 months has all been around how do we grow Vertical Street and take advantage of the opportunities that that real estate created for us, right? And so we closed out 2021 with $86 million in acquisitions. Our goal was 25.
Nice.
Yep. So that was 2021. And then 2022 through end of July, we have purchased $140 million worth of properties.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Most of them have been in the Arizona market. Actually, all of them have been. And so it's been in the Phoenix MSA. It's been the Tucson MSA. We like both for very different reasons. But it's been all around, getting good, solid deals, and as you build a track record, you can go from saying, I'm going to go hunt for a bunch of deals. So now brokers come to us and say, hey, they're looking for a good, solid purchase, a good, solid buyer. And so we were able to negotiate kind of more directly and in a more
Great. Yeah.
more specific way. And so that's been our focus. And then our second piece is Vertical Street is very focused on helping others and learning about this space. And so our academy has grown quite a bit.
Nice.
We launched it in fall of last year, had our first conference in June, and we now have 80 individual students that are part of Vertical Street's Academy.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
it's very cool, helping others become financially free as well.
Yeah. Like we said, you guys have a story that others could follow. It's not easy. It's not just one step, but literally there's 80 people that agree with me that, I think I can do it. I want to do it. It's hard. You don't know what you don't know. It's great to be able to pick your guys' brains all the time. Okay, what do we do? What do we do next? Hey, what are we looking for here? How did you guys first partner? I mean, I still have so many of these questions, and you guys are kind of there 10 steps beyond. And so you can give people those 10 steps that you took.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this process is very organic. You can't replace experience and going through the keystrokes yourself. You're going to read a lot of books. You're going to do your best, absolutely, right? But outside looking in, this is not industry that enables that, right? And so I think that is you go back to our founding story. What Jenny had was capacity. And she had a good skill set from a corporate background, but no experience in apartment investing, right? And so it's her rolling up her sleeves in asset management, underwriting every single day, looking at hundreds of deals that first year that she quit and did absolutely nothing but learn, right? And so that story resonates. And to be honest, our academy is something where we don't have an expectation for how many students we're going to get. But when we share our story, there's a lot of people who are just like that, right? Busy W-2s and want to understand what this looks like. And so that's why there's a gravity towards the academy. And to be honest, we also bring just a corporate background from a training standpoint, right? The structure, the rigor. This is a very tough industry from a training, in my opinion, right? There's just not a lot of structure out there to help you learn in a very effective way. And so our academy is built around that. And so we created an online platform. We have, masterminds or office hours every single week. And then we do a ton of student events to help them on the ground, right? So there's a lot of bells and whistles that we wish that we had when we first got started.
Yeah, for sure. And Ronnie, where should people go real quick? Is it verticalstreetventures.com? Do you have a link there?
Yeah, verticalstreetventures.com. There's an academy tab in there. You can check it out and learn about it. Yeah, that's where you should go.
That's a great. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so you guys are killing it now, Ronnie. I mean, building up that big portfolio. I mean, if my math's right, you guys are close to $250 million under management now. They're out in Arizona. Man, congratulations, because
thank you.
Ronnie came back to Cincinnati one time, and we even considered partnering up back here, and then he was like, nah, Arizona's just way better than Ohio, so I'm not doing
That's not true.
Maybe we will someday. But no, got to know each other. It's been so fun. It's just been fun to watch you and Jenny, and I already did have Jenny and Steven on the podcast, so go check out. That was a great episode interviewing them. But so fun to see you guys grow. Ronnie, it's also been fun as I've gotten to know you and Jenny a little bit, watching, seeing you guys since I'm kind of connected to you online, seeing what you've done with your family. So what is this transition allowed you and Jenny to do maybe a little bit differently when it comes to your family? I mean, specifically thinking of the trip you guys just got done with this summer, but what's that look like? What have been some of, maybe some of the benefits, Ronnie, but then maybe some of the struggles, maybe some things that have been a little bit different now that you guys, because being an entrepreneur, I know from experience, maybe more flexibility, but sometimes it's like, there's even more all in too. So maybe just talk us through that. What's been different for you guys?
Yeah. So I think I'll share too, when I told my son that when I was going to leave my corporate job, he got really excited because he knows that mom goes to his soccer practices, his soccer games. Mom. And so now it's dad that comes along the way as well. Right. And
that's awesome.
A lot more flexibility. So the little things in regards to, hey, you got to play, you've got something at school, we're there and we can be there. Right. I remember one time that our son had a color run and it was the middle of the day and they were struggling to get volunteers because most people can't, they can't go in the middle of the day. Right. And so we said, hey, we'll both be there. And we were sitting there throwing color on kids, kindergartners up to sixth graders. And there was just, those are the little things that create a lot of joy. Right?
Yep. Oh man. Yep.
Yeah, so the small things, and then obviously, with this now you get to control your own time. Now, I want to be
Right.
very clear, we still work a ton of hours. We invest a ton in the business. This is our business, it's our baby. There will be no shortage of effort to grow it, right?
Yep.
But it gives you the flexibility to go and travel. So we spent 3 weeks, a week on the Big Island, a week on Maui, a week on Oahu. We did that in the early part of the summer. And then recently we went for an 11-day cruise to Alaska with my parents. And
That's awesome. Oh
that
yeah.
Alaska trip is really important to me because, my long story short, my dad had lung cancer and most people don't
Wow.
survive lung cancer, but now he's healthy. He's like, I want to go on a trip. I'm like, yes, we're going to go.
Yes. Right.
For his grandkids to go with him and to see all those things, he never
Oh man.
imagined it. He said he never thought it was going to be possible. And so,
Yeah.
and for us to be able to enable that because of what we do now it's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So those are some of the bells and whistles associated, right? I think you have a great question on what are the challenges here, right? I think number one, I kind of alluded to previously, it's all on you, right?
Yeah.
And as you grow, we've got a staff of 13 people now.
Wow.
And, full-time asset manager, director of construction. We've got CFO. These people rely on us to continue to grow the business, right? And so you work very hard, and in a corporate world, it's very different because that if something goes wrong, it's a big company. It's going to back you, right?
Yep. Yep.
This is, hey, the P&L resides with you, this company, and you got to make sure it's a very healthy P&L and your people are taken care of. And that's even more pressure, I think, than working a standard W-2.
Yeah.
Number two is the household. To your point, it's a very uneven income stream. I'll be totally honest, right? So
I know that very well. Yeah.
And so it's, there's no, hey, monthly paycheck where here's the taxes removed and here's the health insurance and all that stuff and FICA. This is, hey, it's a much more active in regards to managing your household and your expenses and making sure your family is in a good position, right? And so you're always trying to innovate in terms of, hey, is it passive investing? Is it other types of investments? Whatever it is, to make sure that you feel comfortable with how you're now managing your life. So those
are oh, absolutely. Yeah. I love that, Ronnie. And I would totally agree. I mean, you and I, and obviously, Jenny too, we like to work, we're hard workers, but the ability to do that early in the morning, do that in the evening, whatever it is, so that in the middle of the day, you can go be part of something at your kid's school. To me, there's no better way to do it. I mean, yeah, you still have to work very hard, but again, also kids are out of school. We get to capitalize on that time. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of there's a book, and I think there's even a podcast called 18 Summers. And the idea, as you can imagine, you only get 18 summers with your kids. And so you guys just made the most of one of your summers with your kids, but it's because you work for yourself. That's how you were able to take 4.5 weeks off, right? So things like that, to me, there's just no replacement for that. But kids are back. You were saying kids go back to school tomorrow. Our kids went today. Hey, it's work season now. Like we had a fun summer. Now we just really got to jump in. And so there's still a lot of work, but you're able to just do a lot more with lifestyle design. So I love that. I love that you and Jenny have been able to do that. But man, you're right. It's up to you. With P&G, I would imagine even if your whole division just kind of fell flat and didn't make the company any money, everybody's still getting paid. And maybe some people start losing their job, but you're still getting the paycheck that you were promised. Whereas, you think you're going to close on this apartment. Maybe there's an acquisition fee coming, we're kind of counting on this amount of cash flow. You don't close on the apartment, none of that's coming through, right? And you might even have money out there that you lost. I mean, I know what we do, right? With hard money and stuff. So man, completely different, not for everybody. I always like to ask at the kind of toward the end here, Ronnie, what would you say is a key ingredient? And now you've got these students, so I'm sure you guys have thought about this, but maybe just one, if you have more, that's fine. But what's one key ingredient for someone to be a successful real estate investor? Someone that wants to get in, get going. What would you say? You've got to have this if you're going to succeed.
You're right. There's probably more than one.
I'm sure. Yep.
I would tell you that actually, once again, you alluded to, we were definitely on the same page. The ability to take on that pressure. I mean, we had some of our deals, we had $1.5 million hard.
Wow. Yep. Jeez.
750 hard day one, 750 after 21 days. And to sit
Wow.
there and say, hey, I'm going to put that money up, and that's personally liable, and
Oh,
to be able
yeah.
to sleep at night, you got to understand the stakes associated here, right? And so,
Yep.
number one, to have that. I was going to say, oh yeah, I can do it, but can you really, right? And so
Yeah.
now you do
Oh,
start
man.
smaller, right? That's not every day, right?
Sure.
You start
Yes.
small, and you gravitate that way. But number one, having the gumption and be able to take that on, and then two, the good news is we have a team, but when you're starting out, you're doing everything. Lee, you know this very well.
Oh, yeah.
A
Yep.
multifunctional ability to look across all the different, things that and be able to speak the language of SEC attorneys and loan docs, and working with your property manager, and then working with investors, and be able to articulate what are they looking for, because they're either doctors or engineers or W-2 workers.
Yep.
There's just so many different ways and languages you have to speak in this industry. And so I think that the ability and to learn all those languages is going to be key, right? And so
For sure.
having that learning mindset and be willing to absorb all that, those are some of the things I think are going to be key ingredients.
Yeah. And Ronnie, it is overwhelming. There is so much to learn. When you start out, you are doing it all. And that's often getting some coaching is really helpful. So verticalstreetventures.com, click on Academy. I would, whether it's you guys or somebody else running, coaching is very helpful because it's a lot. If somebody can kind of just show you the ropes and help you decide, what next steps are, it's very good. Let Ronnie, a little bit of twist on that question. While getting into real estate, having success in real estate, what's a key ingredient in making sure that you keep your priorities straight? Making sure, hey, I say my wife, is my number one, and my kids are right there. But what are you doing? What's that key ingredient to make sure that actually happens?
That's a great question. We, there's a thing that Jesse Itzler does. It's basically called my big calendar for 2022.
Okay.
And the calendar, and what it is it forces you to do the whole year of planning up front. And we revisit it a lot. And so what it is you put all your big trips, you put your kids, day dates together, you put all those priorities on this calendar. And then, because the everyday minutia is going to get to you. Right. And so, but once you put it on the calendar, you don't erase it. You make sure that becomes the priority, right? And so what I love about it is my kids look at this thing every single week and say, oh, that's coming up.
They'll hold you accountable.
They don't have a calendar, but like, hey, we've got a daddy date or a mommy and daughter date coming up, and I'm looking forward to that. Right. And so it's all very visible for our entire family to see. And
they'll hold you accountable to those dates, won't they?
That's right. I mean, you can erase an electronic calendar, but once your kids know about it, it's right?
Yeah. You know what, Ronnie? I don't know if he uses this visual, but I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's commonly held. I think our pastor did at one time, but it's this idea. What you just explained with the calendar fits us perfectly, where if you try to fill a jar with like water and then rice and then little rocks, and then you try to fit the big rocks in, it won't work. Yeah. You have to put the big rocks in first, and then the little rocks will fill in around that. And then the rice, or maybe I think it's sand. The sand will fill in around that. And then the water will, you have to do it in that order in order to be able to fit it in the whole jar. And it's like your calendar is that whole jar. And what you guys are doing is saying, these rocks are most important. We got to put those on first. And everything else we can fill it in. I'm sure you guys fill up that, but it's those rocks that you put in there first. I love that. That's really important.
That's a great analogy. I've heard that one too, and I think it's a very good one. The big rocks, absolutely, and those rocks, they got to be treated as sacred, right?
Yes. Yep. Well, and like I said, I think kids will hold you accountable. So if you get it up there, they'll make sure it happens. They won't let you miss it. Sometimes I ask for a book recommendation. Have you been reading anything good lately? Anything that you guys recommend to your students to help them learn?
Yeah. So I am in the capital markets. I do talk to a lot of investors. Recently, I've been reading Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff.
Yeah.
Pitch Anything has got great stories about, just different levels of, selling situations and how do you close really high pressure situations, right? And so not to say that, our investors, honestly, I don't feel a lot of pressure when raising capital because I feel like I'm giving them an opportunity.
For sure. Yep.
But there are times when you got to close, right? And so those are times when, hey, you get to take some of those lessons out. And so I just love books with great stories, and so
Cool.
that's one I've been reading recently.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, a lot of people recommend that one. So yeah, it's a good one to check out.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff, Ronnie. But before I let you go, we mentioned Vertical Street Ventures. It sounds like that's where everything's at. I know you're pretty active on LinkedIn. Are those the best places for people to learn more about you and Vertical Street Ventures?
That's right. VerticalStreetVentures.com. Find me on LinkedIn, Ronnie Gou, Gou. And then I'm happy to connect, happy to talk more about real estate.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been a lot of fun. Hey, before I let you go, what's something my listeners and I might be praying for you, maybe you and Jenny, the family, whatever, Vertical Street Ventures, what's something we can be praying for you guys for the next couple of weeks?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And it's something that a little unexpected, actually. So I appreciate that, Lee. I basically the mission of continuing to help people become financially free, right?
Yeah.
And so the more that we can relieve them and show them how this is done properly, the more that we can set people off to fulfill their full potential. So pray for our students, and pray for our academy faculty continue to grow, because we think that it'll enable just a ton of lives, so.
Oh yeah, I totally agree, Ronnie. I mean, it's why I do the podcast. I know that's why you guys are doing that, the coaching, because, not everybody has to follow your guys' path. Not everybody has to, husband and wife have to quit their job. But man, if you can get into a deal or two, even if you start investing passively, like you guys saw that enabled you guys to quit. But even if it allows you to send your kids to private school when you didn't think you could afford that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And you thought the only way I can afford that is if I take on a second job or work more. And then you find out again, back to, Robert Kiyosaki or Warren Buffett say, let your money work for you. And so if you could put your money to work for you in some of these deals and even learn how to do that well. And so it's your money making money for you instead of you. There's just so many different levels. You don't have to go all the way with it, but if you can, walk down this path a little bit, you're right, Ron. I mean, it can change your life. It can change your family's life. It can change the trajectory of your kids. I'm passionate about it as well. So I'm just so glad you guys are doing that. We'd be happy to pray for that. Pray for more of that for you guys. Yeah. Take care, Ronnie. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us today, man.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I love the podcast. I'm glad to be here. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ronnie.
Thank you for joining us for another great episode. I hope you'll take action on what you've learned today. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider leaving Lee a 5-star rating and review. And check him out on threefoldrei.com. Until next time, 1 Timothy 6:17.